What's up, guys? It's Parallax Abstraction, and welcome to PXA Peeks at Fight Rage! Indeed, don't let this intro fool you. This is actually not an arcade game. This is a modern game released on the PC, and it is without a doubt going to be one of my biggest surprises of the year. This comes to us from a single-person developer out of Uruguay known as Seba Games Dev. And, well, the objective of this was to make a 16-bit style brawler in the modern era. I am a huge fan of the brawler genre, but I'm going to be the first to admit that it is something that is very hard to produce in the modern era, where quarters are not a factor. There have been a lot of attempts at modern brawlers in the last couple of years, and most of them have been kind of okay at best. Not this one, man. This one is something else. This kind of came out of nowhere on Steam a little while ago, and I tried to reach out to the dev to get code for it and never heard back, so I just decided to take a chance and buy it, and boy am I ever glad I did. This thing is just a wonder. So, yes indeed. So, this thing has a really incredible art style and actually a fair amount of display customization, so you're seeing that sort of bowing effect on the side of the screen. Oddly enough, that's the default. It's designed to make it look like, well, a CRT television. But as you can see here, you have a number of different options. You can make it look like a monitor, a TV, you can smooth it out, and you can also clean up the lines if you like. There's various different forms of scan lines that you can have if you want. I'm going to go with clean just because it makes for the best looking video, but I've actually been playing it mostly in the defaults. There's various different color palettes you can apply, and you can also adjust the HDR level, which is really just the color saturation. It's quite impressive. You can play this with a controller or the keyboard. I'm playing with an Xbox One controller. You can also play it with, well, by default, 3 people, though there's 2 other options here that are locked. I don't actually know what they are. I assume you can bring in more people later. I'm not sure. This game actually locks away a lot of things behind progression. I actually haven't beaten it yet, because it does get much harder later on. There's also a battle mode, which is basically a one-on-one fighting mode with some of the other characters. There's also an extras mode where you can spend those little sort of tokens there that you see in the bottom right corner, which you get for scoring in the game, on basically additional costumes and characters. There's actually a lot of unlockable content in this as well. But let's get this thing started here, and I'm going to show you what it looks like. So there is a fairly lengthy tutorial here. I'm going to skip it. I'll show you how this works. It's pretty straightforward. So you've got a few different starting characters here, and you can unlock more. Yeah, if you're one of those easily offended types out there, you're probably not going to like this game, because as you can see, there's some sexualization going on, but in the sort of 90s style that was very prominent back then. And believe me, though this may be a girl with, you know, bouncing boobs and a weird split leg shot, she is no weak sauce, I'll tell you that. So these characters are all... They don't have stats, but these starting ones are your sort of typical spread. So this person here, she is very, very fast, but doesn't have a lot of power per shot. Ricardo is incredibly slow, but has an incredible amount of power per shot. And F. Norris is kind of a balanced, balance in between the two. I'm going to go with Ricardo because he makes it easiest to show off one of this game's really cool scoring mechanics. So you've got a normal mode and a hard mode. The game will actually keep and show you speedrun data, which I think is really cool. You can turn it off if you like, and I have no idea what this is. All right, let's beat them up. There is a story to this, but it's very much like a 16-bit 90s style sort of let's throw a story in this for the sake of it kind of thing. But, so the story doesn't really matter. It's all about the fighting and the rage, and oh my yes. So here we are. So... the control scheme for this is fairly simplistic, and that is really the only major fault I'm going to find with this, is it would be nice if there was a little bit more variety to the control scheme. So you only have one attack button, and what that button does is context sensitive. So it's dependent on what enemy you're hitting, how you're hitting them, how close you are to them, and what other buttons you press when you're attacking them. So you saw there, sorry, I sort of did sort of a ground pound. You can sort of pick guys up and flip them around, which will become very critical later to crowd control, because you can pick a guy up, throw him back, and stun other enemies that he hits along the way. And you see there's various different weapons you can pick up to use against the enemies. There are some one-use weapons like those knives. There are other larger weapons like pipes and planks of wood. Sometimes you'll find that this thing, which is a sort of a power-up thing that basically I don't know if it doubles your strength, but it gives you a significant increase against the different enemies here. And you may be seeing what I'm doing there. Now, this is easiest to pull off with Ricardo, so you can actually juggle enemies, including once they're dead. So if you can pin an enemy against an object or against the side of the screen and keep bashing them beyond when they're dead, at a certain point, you will literally just reduce them to a pile of exploding bones. And when you do that, you get a 500-point bonus for the kill. So this game is not a very high-scoring game. You're going to see there if you watch as I hit these guys. As you can see, for taking that guy out, I don't actually get a lot of points. So a 500-point bonus for stacking someone up against the edge like this. There we go. That's pretty significant. And if you can pull that off, which is definitely the easiest to do with this character, the points can add up really quick. And as I said, you actually are rewarded for how much you score in this game with the tokens that allow you to unlock rewards. So it's actually to your benefit to do that. You see there you also have a hit counter. You are rewarded extra points at the end of a level depending on the maximum size of your combo. So the more combos you get over the course of a level, the more bonus you'll get. When you take out the boss at the end, you will also get extra points for taking them out quickly. So it holds out, and the points in this actually do have value in that regard, but the one problem is that there are no leaderboards. So it would have been nice. The game doesn't necessarily need online leaderboards, but even local leaderboards would have kind of been nice. Though it does have a practical value for the points, that's something that would have been kind of cool. So yeah, I got off track there with the controls, but so the controls are very simple. You have an attack button, you have a jump button. The attack button is context sensitive, as I said, and by pressing the B button, that is your special attack, which is related to each character here. So this guy says not to get any closer, but he'll just sit here indefinitely. You have to get closer to him. He'll do this, and then by pressing B, there's what you do there. And you see that allows you to kick a character up in the air, to do a bunch of damage, but also to juggle him a lot more. And you can do that with huge crowds as well, which actually can make things really, really interesting. So you see in the upper left there, that little SP meter beside my portrait. So that's what's indicating that your special is charged. So it recharges fairly quickly, as you can see. And as you can see, I wrecked that guy. Oh, this music. The music in this game is just perfect for this kind of game. So you see Crush, there's the thing I got, there's the combo bonus, and basically at every 50,000 points you get another extra life. You can continue in this game when you die. You can continue from the most recent level that you played, but you will also start that level with whatever amount of lives that you had when you started it. So if you're on a level that's really kicking your ass and you don't have any extra lives, it's going to get that much harder. And your goal is to try to get as far as you can in the game while obviously keeping as many lives as possible. I've had to restart several times now because the level that I have gotten on, which I believe is the 5th stage, I've just never been able to get through to the end of it. The difficulty curve in this definitely does ramp up quite a bit. So yeah, that special meter recharges fairly quick. But the interesting thing about this is that you can choose to use your special without it being charged. But when you do that, you lose some health. And that's the trade-off. If you really find yourself in a tough spot and you're like, no, I gotta use this, then you still can, but that's the penalty it gives you. So you see here, I can do this, and it's been used, and I can do it again. Life down. Now you see, it doesn't necessarily take that much. Oh, there's a combo for you. Yeah, see, those are what make this game really something else. So you see, sometimes the life down can be worth it, because you see, it allowed me to pull off something like that. And also, if you do use the special meter or special move when the meter is depleted, not only do you lose some life, but it does still reset the meter. So you're starting the whole clock over again when you do that. So you really do have to be careful when you use it, because using it too much will screw you pretty quick. That's something you definitely have to be cognizant of in this game. All right, so here's a more not a more permanent weapon, but so you see, this is a bar, which is not a one-time use weapon. It will wear out eventually. And you see it's very slow, but it also does a ridiculous amount per hit. Plus you get that very satisfying clong. Yes, indeed. So, I mean, this is a brawler through and through. It is very clearly inspired by 90s-style brawlers, but unlike a lot of the other brawlers that have come out in this era, this one, I think, adapts itself very well to the modern era of gaming, where you don't have quarters. You know, you don't have It's not like a home game where you can blow through it super quick and that's the end of it. There's a lot of content in this. There's a lot of reason to play it over and over again by unlocking more and more stuff. And it's challenging enough that it will require a lot of, you know, repeat play sessions and things like that. It keeps what's good about the brawler genre, which is that it's fairly simple and fairly button mashy. And while I do wish there was a secondary attack button, whether it was a kick or something else, it does still add enough contextual variety on this attack button that you can mix stuff up. You know, there's no combo list in this. It's not like a fighting game or some of those brawlers that try to mash the two genres together by giving you fancy combo moves that you can do or anything like that. It's really just about moving forward and mashing the button as quick as you can. But if you're smart about it and you use the button you use your attack button and hold off your attacks until you've got some good enemy positioning in that, you can still mix things up quite a bit, and as such, you can better manage crowds, and you can get some of those amazing juggle shots that allow you to get those huge point bonuses. And that's what you really want out of this, because there's so much content to unlock in this, and an average good run of this will only net you about 250 coins, and just one costume is 500 coins. So it's not exactly... It takes a fair amount of effort to get unlocks in this. And that's the thing, I've played this several times already, and even though been playing these same levels over and over again, it hasn't gotten boring. I've still been having so much fun just bashing away at this. And between this incredible art style, this glorious 60 frames per second sprite animation, and this friggin' hell of metal soundtrack, I've just not gotten bored with this. This has been so much fun, and I've only played this by myself so far. I haven't had an opportunity to play this with any other people. This with a group I think would be incredible. And unfortunately, it doesn't have any online multiplayer. It's local only. You know, online multiplayer, especially in a game that requires precise timing like this, is much harder than a lot of people realize, and it's really not worth most developers' time to go developing a netcode engine for a niche title like this. Which is something I certainly appreciate, but nonetheless, as someone who, doesn't have a lot of people over to play multiplayer games on my PC that often, having the ability to play this online would certainly be nice, but, I understand as well. But this with a group of people, I could just see being just glorious chaos in sort of the best way possible. Alright, so I am definitely not doing well this time out, but that's mostly because I'm commentating while playing. But you're really getting the core idea of this thing. I mean, this game is... you just beat the snot out of people, but the controls are super tight, it's super responsive. I have never felt like it feels fast. I've never felt like I've lost because the game was being cheap. A lot of brawler games give enemies unfair advantages that just make everything feel really unfair and stacked against you, and kind of like the rules don't apply to the enemies. Very much not the case here. You saw earlier on when some of those barrels came rolling through the environment, and when they hit enemies, they got knocked back. Yeah, anything that can hurt you can hurt the enemies too. And that's good, because that to me indicates that the game is playing fair. And that's what I want out of this. It makes me feel... There we go, I got an extended life there. That makes me... feel much less frustrated even when I don't do very well at it. And there are all these little cutscene things. You can either press a button to advance them, or you can just press start to skip them if you want. It doesn't force you to watch these things over and over again. There's very little dialogue in this, and most of what there is pretty cheesy in an intentional way. This game actually, it was made by a South American developer, but it actually is translated quite well, which is very nice. You don't always see that. Even if it wasn't, it really wouldn't detract much, but it's nice to see that level of effort put into it. I mean, this is one of those games where it just blows my mind when I see that it was made by one person, with everything except the music. Because it runs great. I love this sprite art. I think these creature designs are really interesting. There's a really varied, punchy color palette. It's not all grays and browns. You're in this very sort of dystopian world, and yet at the same time, it's just full of color and vibrancy, and really makes it more interesting. And yeah, it runs at a solid 60. The sprites are all animated at 60. There's a crazy amount of content in here. The controls are good. And yeah, this soundtrack by Gonzalo Varela, I believe is how you pronounce it. I apologize if I'm screwing that up. Is just, I can't believe that this game doesn't sell the soundtrack with it on Steam. Like, oh my god, guys, income opportunity for real. Put that up for sale. I will buy it right now. It's the music in this is just, oh. A game like this is built for this kind of thing. Like, even that level of detail, like, did you see when that guy hit the floor, how the lights kind of swayed? Like, you can see it right there. Like, look. Just that, like, the little details in this are just, they're everywhere. And you can tell this was made by someone who was really passionate about this and wanted this to be the absolute best he could possibly make. And it doesn't feel like he compromised on much, if anything at all. This is just so refreshing. You know, I have played Brawler games like Mother Russia Bleeds that were published by Devolver Digital that were, at best, in my opinion, mediocre. You know, that game really didn't set the world on fire for me. And there have been other indie attempts at the Brawler genre, and most of them, they get the basic idea right, but by and large, they just miss the mark. And they either don't understand what made this genre good, or they're trying to figure out how to make it work in the modern era and just don't know what people need and want out of this game in 2017, this type of game. And this guy absolutely got it. This feels like a game that could have come out in the golden era or the golden age of brawlers, and both in terms of how it looks and how it plays. But it has just enough modernization to it where it does also feel like something that was made in 2017. This doesn't feel like it was designed around, first and foremost, sucking quarters out of your wallet, which is what the Brawler genre really was about. And that, coming up with a way to keep you engaged and keep coming back to it over and over again without just making it overly punishing or based around quarter-sucking mechanics, is something that a great many modern Brawler devs have struggled with. And this guy just figured out how to do it. And it's really refreshing. Based on the Steam reviews and the footage I'd seen for this, I did have high hopes for it. And honestly, they were not only well-founded hopes, I would say they were exceeded. This is definitely one of my biggest surprises from PXA Peeks this year. I'm confident it's going to be, because this has just been, I played a whole bunch of this on my Extra Life stream, which was a couple of days ago as I'm recording this, and it's just been, I've had a huge smile on my face the whole time I've been playing it, even though I've always reached a certain point and it's been kicking my ass. Oh, listen to that guitar, it's so good! Ugh! Yeah, this has just been an absolute blast, and I am really glad that I came across this game. It seems to have a relatively small following on Steam, but for real, if you like brawlers, if you like the brawler genre, do not hesitate, you have to pick this up. It's 2D, so I imagine this will run on fairly modest computers. I imagine you don't need to have a gaming rig to play this. It is only on the PC right now. I really would hope that one day it could come to consoles as well, because I think this would be right at home there. So you see there, for losing on normal, you earn 1 coin for every 800 points. So I just earned another 103. That's 146 in total because I spent a bunch of the ones that I had. You do have the ability to continue, but this does reset your score. Even though there are no leaderboards, it does reset your score, but give you the 1 point increment, which is a very Japanese scoring thing to do, which I thought was another nice little nod to the 90s. And just like even these transitions, right? Like just, it's just so well done. It looks like an early 90s Capcom game. You know, the title is perhaps a little bit uninspired, but at the same time, it's very much what you would expect out of something like this. And frankly, it fits, you know? So here's the little fighting mode I was telling you about. It's very simple. You pick your player. The other side picks a player.
Round 1, fight.
Little tiny homage to Street Fighter 2. Again, this is not a fighting game. You know, the control system in this is incredibly simplistic, and you know, this is really just a fun little throw-in add-on. Don't get me wrong, it's, you know, it's kind of fun, and especially when playing against friends, I imagine this would be pretty cool. But this is not this is not the core part of this game, not by any means. But yeah, this is one of the best brawlers I have played in years, and as someone who tries almost all modern brawlers that comes out to find something that can give me that feeling I had when I played this genre in the 90s, that is not something I say lightly. I think this is truly an indie gem, and if you don't like brawlers, this probably won't sell you on them. But if you do like brawlers, I can't recommend picking this up enough. You know, support the cause, get us some more brawlers made by developers who actually get what makes them good and how to make them good in this era, because boy, this has done it. And again, that this was made by one person just blows my mind. The production quality in this is absolutely A1. The controls are good, the fighting system is good, this music is just perfect. For real, man, put this soundtrack on Steam, please, and I will pay for it. Because, oh, this music is just beautiful. So yeah, there's not much more I can say about it. I'm just going to continue gushing, but that is Fight and Rage, developed and published by Seba Games Dev in 2017 for the PC. It is $20 on Steam, and in my opinion, it is worth every penny. If you're like me and a steadfast holdout lover of the brawler genre, who's looking for a brawler done right in this era, you found it. Trust me, this is well worth it. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you liked what you saw here, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. That does help me out a great deal. If you want to watch something else, check out the videos on screen now, and don't forget to follow @PXA Media on Twitter to find out about new stuff first.